What's up, everybody? I'm here to bring you the North of Falcon salmon forecast for Puget Sound, hot off the press. Well, last week was hot off the press, but I'm getting to it now, and I'm going to break down our forecast by Chinook, by Coho, by pink salmon for the entire Puget Sound, and break it down by sub areas as well. For many of you, you know, right? The way our fisheries get constructed is not necessarily totally based on the abundance of fish. It's the natural origin fish that we have to worry about when it comes to planning fisheries, right? But the overall abundance of fish tells us how good the fishing will be during the season that's open, assuming the forecasts are accurate, which that's all we've got to work with right now. So we're just going to go with it. We're going to start with Coho because the Coho forecast probably has the biggest sort of downside surprise. And so we're going to jump on that and try to get that out of the way a little bit because it's frankly, it's probably going to impact our Coho fisheries in 2025. And that's kind of a bummer because overall, the Coho abundance is quite good in Puget Sound in 2025. Expect similar numbers to 2024 and 2023. We're definitely benefiting from good ocean conditions and good returns of Coho. All right, so where is the area of greatest concern for Coho salmon returning to Puget Sound in 2025? And it's ultimately comes down to Hood Canal. There's some wild stocks on the Kitsap Peninsula side of Hood Canal, Tahuya River, Big Beef Creek, a few other rivers where the numbers of the natural origin fish have just kind of crashed between 2024 and 2025. And unfortunately, there's a bunch of fisheries around Puget Sound that contribute to the adult mortalities of these fish. You might think, this is only going to impact Hood Canal, or this is only going to impact Hood Canal in the Straits, right? Or maybe the ocean. But unfortunately, these fish, when they're coming through, they're coming through Admiralty Inlet, they don't always know to turn right, head down to Hood Canal. So a lot of times they're going through 10, they're going through 9. And in fact, the single greatest sport fishery impact outside of Hood Canal on these natural origin Hood Canal Coho stocks is Marine Area 10. And it's also doubly unfortunate that the greatest month of impact is September. So we're talking potential impacts to the adult Coho season in Marine Area 10 in September, Marine Area 9, certainly Marine Area 12, Marine Area 6 and 5, maybe even potentially impacting what kind of ocean quotas are out there for Coho in marine areas like 4. We'll see. That's it. The further out you go, the harder it is to predict. But this is a significant challenge to our fisheries this year. We're still early in the process. We have the NALF run for Coho, which is new abundance, last year's fisheries. It was presented last week at the North of Falcon forecast kickoff. And that tells us that we've got a long way to go. We're 49% is basically the exploitation rate that's predicted on these wild stocks. And because of their low numbers, the maximum exploitation rate they can have is 20%. There's a huge gap between 50 and 20% that we've got to overcome. And in most cases, the only way you overcome that is by cutting back on our fisheries. Look, these numbers aren't final. It's preliminary. The models are still being refined. No one needs to freak out about what I'm talking about here. However, we do need to be thinking ahead of what our priorities are, what trade-offs we'd be willing to make, and be aware that things aren't going to be smooth sailing between now and opening day. But there are some bright spots for Coho as well. First of all, both the North Sound and the South Puget Sound don't have much contributing impact to these wild stocks, and their numbers are going up year over year. The North Sound has a better run because of places like the Skagit, which keep getting better and just doing the lion's share of work there. But even in the South Sound, places like the Nisqually River and the Squaxin Net Pens are both responsible for increases in the Coho forecast. Before we talk pink forecast, I want to take a minute just to plug my premium content section of my channel. I'm going to be making at least a video a month, maybe 2 on here that is only going to be accessible by those who are in the members only section. I'm going to be able to cover a lot more in-depth how-tos, a lot more in-depth stuff, sharing the knowledge I've gained over the years, doing all these different fisheries and all these different types of methods. If you're looking to rapidly learn some of how to do some of these fisheries and you're behind on the learning curve, definitely encourage you to sign up, and I'll be able to help you out, and you'll have more access to me, and I'll take your feedback as well as to what kind of content to produce, what kind of how-tos to produce, and there'll be a dialogue there. So please take a look at that if that's going to help you out. All right, let's talk about pinks. This looks to be an absolutely stupid run of pink salmon, and particularly in a few areas. It looks like it's going to be off the charts. We're talking the third best run in like the last 15 years, maybe, right? I mean, this is significant. And in some areas, it's going to be just absolutely choked with pink salmon. And maybe you're one of those people who thinks pinks are a nuisance. Maybe to you, that's when you go salmon fishing. You fish every other year and the pinks are everything. Or maybe you're somewhere in between. I'm probably somewhere in between. I love odd years though, especially the freshwater options where you get to just hammer on so many abundant pink salmon. Is an absolute blast. It can get old in the saltwater at some point when you're trying to hook a different species. You're like, oh my goodness, another pink. Are you serious, right? And we're gonna have some of those moments, but it's worth it, guys. This is gonna be a lot of fun. All right, so where are these pinks coming to? Where are they headed to? What parts of the sound are going to get more? What parts of the sound are going to get less? We got to start with the North Sound because it's one of the places that's actually going to see a smaller pink return between 2023 and 2025. And largely, even though the Nooksack is going to get more pinks, the Skagit drops about 90,000 fish. The Snohomish system is going to drop by about half. So the North Sound is not going to get quite the run of pinks that some of the other areas are. I mean, for it to go from basically double what it was 2 years ago, even with the North Sound going down by a good amount, the rest of the Puget Sound, as you can imagine, we're gonna walk through in a minute, is gonna be stupid. All right, we got to start by talking about mid Puget Sound, right? Working our way south. Oh my goodness, the Green River 2 years ago was plugged with pink salmon. But on top of that number coming back in 2025, they're going to get an additional 1 million pink salmon. Are you kidding me? The Green River is going to be absolutely stuffed with pink salmon. You're going to be able to walk across on pink salmon. It's going to be ridiculous. Additionally, the Puyallup is going to get about twice what it got in 2023 as well, which the Puyallup had plenty 2 years ago. So to get twice that amount, 2025, that is something to look forward to. Yes, I will go down and do the Puyallup at least one time during peak season, and you know, it's an experience. It's fun, right? But the real story of increases in pink salmon is in the South Sound. This is going to be the biggest South Sound pink run we've ever experienced. The Nisqually River, which had a lot of pinks 2 years ago, is going to get another 1 million. This is like Oprah, like you get 1 million and you get 1 million. There's going to be 1.4 plus million pinks headed to the Nisqually River. That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. And the Nisqually is a really good place if you want to fish for them in fresh water. There's good water temps because of the dam, the Alder Lake Dam. The water that's coming in there is pretty cold. And so the water tends to be clear, and when those fish come in, they are snappy. This is the perfect time to learn. If you've never twitched jigs for pinks, you've never had a great salmon freshwater fishing experience, this is the time to learn. Get those wickeds right. Oh my goodness, this is just so much fun. If you haven't experienced a salmon biting spinner that you have direct contact with, that you're fluttering through a drift and then wham, it hits it. Just pure electricity, and pink salmon are awesome to experience in the river like that. But imagine how many are going to be pouring through the Narrows, right? Thinking about places like the Gig Harbor shoreline, or the Dalco Passage, or even just areas around Point Defiance, or further south into 13. Like, there's going to be some places to intercept these pink salmon in the saltwater in the South Sound and experience fishing like we've never experienced before. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't also get excited about Hood Canal. These Hood Canal folks, they're taking a beating with Coho. They got to make it up somewhere. And 2023, they got about 500,000 pinks back. 2025, they're supposed to get almost 2.5 million pinks. Oh my goodness. This is going to be ridiculous. You're going to want to get out. I don't know what kind of Coho seasons you're going to get. You're going to want to take advantage of the pinks when they're in, and they come in a little earlier, right? Because they come around the corner, and it tends to be more July getting going than a lot of times the other areas of Puget Sound are more August. So definitely take advantage of that if you're in Hood Canal. Now, of course, everyone wants to know what we're expecting for Chinook. And I didn't save it for last because I'm some kind of big tease, although I am. I saved it for last because it's kind of it's not as exciting this year as it has been in previous years, and that might be that might be naive of me, but it also might be a good thing because last year was pretty good. This year it's supposed to be even better. In fact, in the last 9 years, this is supposed to be the second biggest return of Puget Sound Chinook after 2017. 2017 was a ridiculous year. This is number 2. It's not really close to 2017, but it's still expected to be very good. Unfortunately, though, underneath the hood, it's not as good as those numbers reveal, and I'll explain that in a minute. Starting with just the Straits and Hood Canal forecast, again, not a huge deal here, down slightly from 2024, but again, this isn't significant contributions to the interior of Puget Sound. This is going to be encountered in Hood Canal, in the Straits, and those kind of fisheries, which is not nothing, but this is kind of year over year. Expect similar kinds of numbers. Now we talk about the North Puget Sound. Now we're talking about the reason for the increase year over year in the run size. And that's unfortunately the bad news. Most of these fish are headed for the Samish River. And unfortunately, with the seasons we've had in Marine Area 7, we just haven't been able to get these fish as effectively or efficiently as we would like, right? The Bellingham Bay fishery is kind of the primary opportunity. At the North of Falcon forecast meeting, there was some desire expressed from the public. Can we increase the boundaries of the Bellingham Bay fish? Can we do something to get these fish? Because there's a lot of fish headed to the Samish River. How can we get these hatchery surplus fish and provide really good fishing in the process? That's a question that hopefully the advisors, hopefully WFW can figure out some answers to, although I'm not very optimistic about that because, again, we've tried every year for the last several years since Marine Area 7 has had some major cuts to its salmon season, and we've not been successful. So there is some more work to be done in these Marine Area 7 seasons, the opportunity, the quotas, but also in the freshwater opportunities in places like the Skycomish Summer Chinook Run. I'm going to talk about it near the end of the video, but there's some things we can do. There's some awareness we can raise about the trade-offs that are being made in our salmon fishing seasons that we have some voice in, we have some opinion on, and some input in that's not getting enough attention. And I'm going to explain that in a few minutes. But first, let's talk about the mid-sound. The mid-sound is also slightly higher, but basically flat, mostly because Lake Washington's got a few more thousand fish. Green's pretty flat. Puyallup has a little bit more fish, but this is kind of expect 2024 abundances, in 2025. Not a huge difference between the two. In the South Puget Sound, there's actually, again, a slight increase, kind of flat year over year, not a big deal. The Nisqually sees a little bit of a reduction in numbers. Minter, Chambers, and the Deschutes see a little bit more fish, but largely this is a flat year-over-year forecast for the South Sound. Expect it to be good like it was last year. Expect decent seasons more than likely because there's not a lot of impact on sensitive stocks from these fisheries. So not a lot to see here. This is not a very exciting forecast from the standpoint of like, ooh, drama. It is exciting from the standpoint of we probably are going to have seasons similar to last year. And that means a lot of Chinook are going to hit the deck and a lot of Chinook are coming over the rail into our boat. All right, so I want to talk about this Marine Area 7, San Juan Islands, Skycomish Summer Chinook Run, Stillaguamish, the S Rivers, the Skagit Summer Falls, all this stuff, right? there are things to know about where the impacts are going on these natural origin stocks that I'm not seeing surface in public discussions and public discourse with the department. And we need to change that. We need to get the data out there. We need to make people aware of what's going on. Did you know that 49% of the exploitation rate on Skycomish summer Chinook came from non-selective fisheries? Think about that. Non-selective fisheries, right? So we've got ESA listed Chinook in Puget Sound, and we fish selectively on them so that we can target the hatchery fish. It has some impact on the natural origin fish, but it's greatly reduced. Well, why are half of our impacts going to non-selective fisheries? You might wonder, well, what are these non-selective fisheries? What are we talking about? Okay, let's get into that. About 30% of the non-selective fisheries, remember 49% total, but of 30% of the impacts come from non-selective fisheries that are part of the ocean season setting process, right? So if you're new to this, you see North of Falcon, you see the department engaging with the public. Well, North of Falcon is WVFW's process of working with the co-managers. That fits into a larger process of working with what's called the Pacific Fisheries Management Council, PFMC, and they're meeting right now and into next week to figure out the ocean options. This includes representatives from California, Oregon, and Washington, as well as the co-managers trying to figure out what are the ocean seasons and quotas going to be for both recreational and commercial. All right. I've never attended a PFMC meeting. Some folks have. Some folks are more involved, but they fish non-selectively in marine areas 3 and 4 on the recreational side and the commercial side. And there is some recreational side, that Nia Bay troll, that's like my favorite troll, Nia Bay to Mushroom Rock, right? We're allowed to take fish that have an extra adipose fin. We fish non-selectively there. And many of those fish are from the Columbia River, right? They're working their way south, they dip in there, and there's a lot of Columbia River fish, and that's why those fisheries are non-selective. But at some point, like just for perspective, just for the numbers in perspective, what I have in the 2024 FRAM spreadsheet is about 0.4% exploitation rate coming from recreational non-selective fishing in marine area 3 and 4, and probably most of that is in 4. Okay, 0.4%. That's also the same number for the entire Marine Area 7 salmon season. Okay? Keep that in mind. Also, in Marine Area 4, there's a non-treaty commercial troll that accounts for 0.45% of the exploitation rate. Remember, the max exploitation rate is 8% on the Snohomish, the summer Chinook right now. Okay? So keep that in perspective. Add the two together, and you're at 10% of what all the allowable impacts, the 0.4 plus the 0.445. Again, we haven't even been able to fish the freshwater summer Chinook where all these hatchery fish end up as surplus hatchery in the Skycomish River. But at some point, why aren't we even talking about these numbers, right? These numbers are equivalent to the entire summer salmon season in Marine Area 7, which has been completely reduced. I don't know what's going on here. All I know is what the numbers are telling me. You can make up your own mind. These are just what the numbers are. The numbers are what they are. So, hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe. You'll get more content from me as we're going through North of Falcon season. As we're talking actual fisheries proposals, I'll make another video. Maybe even get a live stream so you guys can jump in live and comment and discuss. But this discussion is not going anywhere. 2025 is going to be an incredible season in the marine areas and the freshwater, but we've got some trade-offs to make. We've got some stuff that we've got to figure out, some difficult conversations. Chime in. My Discord channel invite link is in the description of the video. My blog post also there. Get involved. Have a voice. Let your voice be heard. Hopefully I see you out on the water this summer enjoying a heck of a good season as we're hoping to have in 2025. Take care.